Hello, and let's talk about the Groypers. The Groyper movement in general. Well, what is the problem with them? What is their purpose? And what is their future? Well, will I say this as an outsider, or am I a Groyper myself? I will talk for a while until I admit anything. Anyways, guys, I have seen and I have been watching Nick for about a year now. I've seen him since the CPAC event in 2019, and why didn't I didn't know of him sooner? I was not involved in that sort of politics until I saw Nicholas, and to be fair, I did watch him until about January of 2020. Now the problem is with this guy is he is leading a movement, right? And he is what are some things that are special about Nick, actually? If we talk about that, then you would understand that fundamentally speaking, this man brings youth to the conservative movement. He is born August of 1998. He is 21. He is a quarter Mexican, so his grandfather's a Mexican. Yeah, he lives in Chicago. So, by having the virtue of having the Hispanic last name, he serves the purpose of being cannon fodder to the extent that people aren't going to. Maybe I phrased this wrong, but I think that Fuentes, to a certain extent, can get cover for stuff he says because they assume he's like half Mexican when he's just a quarter. But this goes to the greater point. Why do people look at this guy as a leader? I would say they do because he's very smart. Now, his IQ, I don't know what it is exactly. I think he is top 5%. I do think that he does bring value to a movement, but to the extent that, for example, why did I stop watching in January? Besides the show getting very monotonous and, very annoying, I think that he has this Achilles heel, which I think could kill the movement eventually. And that is to say that if we are a big tent movement here, as Republicans and as conservatives, what is it to say that somebody's going to make a coup and go for the leader of the Groypers, which is Nick? Now, who are Nick's right wing men? And you would see that it is Patrick Casey, and I think Patrick. Look, I was talking to Groypers yesterday, and indeed, I was talking about Patrick Casey, and I had some criticisms. And then they call me a fag. They say, "Oh, that's not based. Oh, your name's Lalo. So you're a Mexican, right? Oh, well, see, that's the problem. If your people, if Groypers are gonna act in the rank and file, and they're gonna act like monkeys, if they're gonna call you names just because you're another race, why do you think people would accept the movement, honestly? And how self-aware are these people? The people in the Bernie circle think they're right, and they think they have the people's best intentions, and the Bernie people think that they have the popular vote. They're obviously wrong, and while paleo conservatives haven't really ran in this era, I do believe that Nick is mistaken if he thinks that he can win a big majority of the country. I don't think he even believes that, but a lot of these Groypers are deluded into thinking that everybody should agree with him, and I think that they're wrong. Because why do people presume that they're right all the time? And that is because they have a cognitive dissonance to some extent. And I think really that these people that are Groypers are nominally their own people, but in fact just say the stuff that he says, and it's very annoying, and it puts me off. That's for sure. This is why I make a video about this now, because I think that before the movement develops much more, I do think that you need to regulate your people. Nick himself has said to the Groypers, "Stop talking about Israel. Why are you mentioning Israel so much?" That's what the neocons are saying. That's what the Charlie Kirk acolytes are saying. It's because it comes off the wrong way and it rubs people the wrong way. And Nick is smart enough to tell his lower IQ rank and file Groypers to say, "Stop saying that. You're coming off the wrong way." That's exactly the point. So when we have a populace within a movement that are doing it the wrong way, then they're going to blow up the movement. What happened to Occupy Wall Street? They looked like losers. They looked like hipsters sitting down saying we're unemployed. Well, look, you're just sitting in a park protesting the Wall Street people. Do you think those people are going to come down from the skyscrapers because you're just protesting like an imbecile? All right? So that's exactly my point. Why are people not following directions? Well, let's look at the leader, Nick Fuentes. Well, he's a smart guy. I said before, there's an Achilles heel. And what is the Achilles heel? Most Groypers don't believe this, but when you look at that catboy thing, and you look at the Discord, okay, and you look that he makes these catboy references in 2017, like 3 years ago, you wonder yourself, why the hell is he making these references? Why is he hanging out with this transvestite? And he can explain it and he can rationalize it if he likes. That's up to him. But the public perception of him is tainted. Now, he's probably too what do you call it? He's too much of a big show to go in Discord to talk to the people. Maybe he's too big now to message people that DM him. Maybe he's too big to maybe realize that people are talking about him in such a way to really understand. Yes, he is out of touch in that aspect. Why? Well, why is he defending himself so vigorously from this catboy thing? And it's because it's a wrong look, and he understands that. Why do you think he hasn't done it? Again, because it is bad optics. But not only is it bad optics, but it's a bad thing to do. When you're running a social conservative movement, you best not have an affair going on. You best not be another Bill Clinton. You might as well not be another person that has so many scandals around him. But as we see, Nick has been a leader for not even that long, and 3 months into his prime, he's already getting tainted with stuff that he put in the public himself like an idiot. What's wrong with him? And the people that still follow Nick devoutly have a cognitive dissonance because they need their daddy to not be corrupt. Look, guys, just look at the leader and say, there's problems. Nick Fuentes is smart enough to say, Donald Trump's the leader, but he has some problems. Maybe he's too much of a Zionist. Maybe he isn't good on the budget. Maybe he hasn't done a moratorium on immigration exactly how Nick wants it. But he still follows that leader. You can still be a Groyper and acknowledge Nick is a repressed homosexual Catholic, and that's tolerable. That's the thing. If you listen to Fuentes, he personally himself says, I don't view homosexuality as a bad thing unless you act on it. Who would say that but a repressed homosexual who has those tendencies and doesn't act on it and doesn't want to think that he's living in sin by thinking about men in a gross way? That's the problem. Any guy should be able to say being gay is wrong, having those thoughts are disgusting, and it's gross, and it's intolerable. He thinks that he has this little loophole in his Catholic logic where, as I think about it, it's not a sin. Nick, if you're hanging out with a transvestite and you find him attractive in your heart to heart, that is unacceptable, and I renounce that. And even as a Protestant myself, I can tell the Catholic that you're being an imbecile and you're doing the wrong thing. And this goes to another thing. Why, look, with that logic, wouldn't a pedophile say, well, I have it in my head, I can be around children, I can think a certain way, but it isn't bad because, I'm not actually acting on it. No, pedophilic tendencies are still bad. Thinking about children in that way is still bad. That's still a sin. If not a sin, it is still disgusting. And you not disavowing thoughts that are bad, such as homosexuality, is cringe, and it's bad optics, and it's stupid. Maybe some people aren't smart enough to pick apart these little details and read between the lines of what Nick says, because he keeps his mouth open all the time. But look, his fans need to understand. He has this fallibility. He is not inevitable. People say America first is inevitable. That is not true at all. Oh, well, socialism is inevitable. No. Demographic change is inevitable. No. Of course not. Do you not study history? Understand. Also, this goes to the greater point of the religion aspect. If our leader is going to be a devout Catholic and sound his mouth about, the rosary or the Eucharist or whatever the hell that means, then all the followers are going to try to, ride his coattails. That's the problem. He is influencing thousands of kids to convert to Catholicism from Protestantism or agnosticism instead of saying, making a vague Christian assertion, and that's it. That's the problem. We as conservatives need to be vaguely Christian, and if that is Protestant, well, I am Protestant, but, not enforcing the Catholic thing, because I think that's stupid. And that's my personal disagreement. Obviously, if he's a Catholic, he wants to convert people to that religion. But me personally, I think that he's leading a lot of people the wrong way. And, you see a lot of these tendencies with a lot of Catholics. Not all, but, the repression of sexuality. You're talking about being a virgin until marriage, which, I mean, I guess is understandable. But at the same time, what, are you going to be a little homo with your transvestite in the meantime, Nick? Are you kidding me? So this is the problem. If this catboy thing got more public, if Nick were more relevant, but he's kind of obscure right now, then that would blow so much in his face he would have to give up his career, right? Imagine he's a senator and they say, well, Nick Fuentes caught with transvestite on video. That would destroy you. Why? Well, because he is simply supposed to be infallible. You're supposed to be like the Pope. You're supposed to not be corrupt at all. This is such a huge Achilles heel, and I'm warning you guys, this could really happen. The question is, who's going to take over the movement? I mentioned this before, Patrick Casey. Patrick Casey has bad optics. He has the American Identity movement that only allows white people in it, as far as I know. They don't want any brown people in that movement. Well, why? Because he thinks that America is supposed to be a white country, but only whites. Why? He wants a 95% white majority, basically, is what he wants. Maybe I'm misconstruing something that he wrote a while ago, but still, that's what people think. What people think is more important than what is in a lot of cases, especially in politics and movement-driven type associations. So, for example, Patrick Casey would be an even worse leader than Fuentes, because not only is he a pure white guy, and he doesn't have that Hispanic last name, but he's shorter than Nick. He has more of a Wignat tendency than Nick. He has worse optics than Nick. So that guy's out of the question. Jaden McNeil, that guy is irrelevant. He's like Lance videos. I don't. And look, I'm being completely honest, okay? Because when you contradict any little thing from Nick in front of the Groypers, they call you a fag. They call you an invader. They call you a lot of bad things, right? And I'm here to say to disavow that. And if people think that I'm being unfair, then go ahead and say it. But guys, be honest to yourself. Do not lie to yourself. I'm being completely honest and open. Look, if I wanted to, I could completely suck up to Nick, but I'm the guy who disavowed the gay stuff he did in January when it happened, and he blocked me from Twitter. And why'd he do that? Because he's insecure. Why has he blocked 5,000 people on Twitter? That is so bad optics. Jesus Christ. And he wonders why people hate him. I am sympathetic to his cause, though. I am a paleo-conservative. To an extent, I'm more conservative than he is, insofar as he allows the gay repression. I just don't want gay things, period. But of course, he's gonna let his little cranny in. He still wants he wants to normalize his sin. But guys, be wary. I think Nick needs to be vibe checked. I think you guys need to stop relying so much on him. Maybe get your news from somewhere else. I think look. People say don't counter-single the movement, don't punch right. I will try to course correct this Groyper movement, this paleo-conservative movement, because I support it. But who's going to be the leader? I want to be a guy who's completely frank and gets this out early. And if you guys want to counter-signal and ratio this video, that's completely up to you. But if I get a lot of dislikes and no comments, I will figure out that you guys are very single-minded and cannot argue your way out of this. Guys, it is simple. If you guys are teenagers, if you guys are Zoomers, you have plenty of life in you, dude. You don't need to be doing some stupid gay frog thing on Twitter. You call yourself based med Catholic. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And to the minorities that are Groypers, I'm sympathetic with you guys too, but do you think that Nick wants you in his country, honestly? Would Nick, if he had it his way, would have let your dad get in the country? Would he let your mom get in the country? I don't think so. And it's very patronizing. And it's very patronizing to have these tokens in the movement. When he looks down upon you, get real. He thinks, when a black guy says something that's paleo-conservative, a lot of times these Groypers will say, based? They leave out that they think you're a based monkey. And it's very patronizing. And this goes to the exchange I had with the Groypers yesterday. These racial epithets are very, very damaging to people and their self-esteem. But not only that, but I do think that by calling somebody a spick or the N-word or a monkey, in a lot of cases, in like the way that is exactly said by the Groypers, I think that's bad optics, and it rubs people the wrong way. You need a movement that is cohabitable, ideologically with minorities that are citizens to this country, or else you're never going to win an election, basically, period, unless you want to run for the state senate in Montana or something like that. I don't think you have much of a possibility. But anyways, guys, look, I do not hate all people. I'm just trying to set this straight. Like, for example, if I were a neocon and said, look, I don't think that Mike Huckabee would be a good guy for the presidency or a good nominee, that doesn't make me anti that movement. It just makes me pro the movement, but in a different way. So I have criticisms, but I do support the paleoconservative method. And, I do like people in that movement. I think Vincent James has done great work, in a large case, to help the movement to spread the pro-gun stuff, but also tone it down on the racial stuff. He has done that himself because he's older than Nick and he gets it more that he is a man of, he's in his 30s. He gets the optics of it. Nick gets the optics to some extent, but also keep in mind, guys, Steve Franson, also a good guy in the movement. Another guy who's solid. I like him too. This is not to say, guys, I'm making it obvious. This is not to hate all paleocons. Okay? I'm just trying to get these people out the movement. Nick didn't call out Stefan Molyneux until Molyneux stabbed him in the back. If Nick were smart, he could have dragged Molyneux's name through the dirt first before Molyneux grifted for another 2 years on Nick's behalf, or at least on the paleoconservative behalf. But Nick didn't have the balls. And he'll say, oh, well, it's because I'm not a rat. It's like, no, dude, come on. He didn't name them before they stabbed him first, okay? That's the problem. People say, Nick, he references this, that he's a defensive guy. Nick, get on the offensive, and I'd respect you more, honestly. And I think he does watch, he has watched a couple of my videos before, because I've made videos about him that are antecedent to this one, and I think they do make the good points that he needs to understand. And I'm not trying to be too patronizing, because I think I'm younger than him, so I think that to some extent the guy knows better than me, but I'm ashamed and I'm disappointed in him, at least, that he let himself go to these lengths and not clear up the fact. Look, I'm getting lost in this rant, but the point is, please, guys, get educated in his past. Understand he has these fallibilities. Disavow the catboi thing. I think that is disgusting. No more jokes about that, please. It's not a joke. It's not a meme. It is honest. Look, if Nick is a real social conservative, he wouldn't let that catboi 30 miles... oh my God, that's so gross. I wouldn't let that guy in my city if it were up to me. Let alone let him fly to my city and sleep in my house, or even get him an Airbnb. What the hell's wrong with you, Nicholas? Get that under control. This is a disavowal of those tendencies that Nick has. I think people should step up and clear those out before we have a bunch of irony fags in our movement, or in the paleoconservative movement in general. Oh, I'm an irony bro. No. No. Wrong. No irony is to be tolerated in regards to the gay stuff, in regards also to the catboi thing specifically, because it is disgusting. Why are we doing that? And look, those communists, Vouch, all these other people, all these socialists, these left-wingers that are libertarian socialists or whatever they call themselves, they make fun of the Groyper movement because they have a faggot running him. That's what they say about Nick. And those accusations about the catboi thing with Nick, made by Vouch, stuck. Why? Because they were true enough to stick. That's the perception, Nick. Wake up, guys. Thank you for watching. Comment down below if you're not scared. I mean, no harm by this video, okay? It's a criticism.